One of my favorite stations in Star Citizen is going away. CIG is removing it from the game. But as the phoenix rises from the ashes, another station will rise in its place. Many older players will probably hold Port Olisar near and dear to their hearts. It was the first station that was added into the game, and for a long time it was the only spawn point in Stanton that you could choose. As it was originally designed to be this one spawn point for everybody, despite its small size, Port Olisar is fairly well equipped. It has armor shops, gun shops, clothing stores, you can even buy ship modules there. And it has this design that we've seen nowhere else, where you have no elevators anywhere. It's just an airlock and you're out on the pads, and one airlock and you're basically right at the center of the station. This has been very attractive to a lot of people, as it gave you basically instant access to get out into space, so you don't have to go through all those train rides that you have to do on many of the other landing zones. But with update 3.20, Port Olisar is going to be removed from the game. And the big question, of course, is why? The answer is actually quite straightforward. It's too small. As I said, it was designed as a single spawn point just to give people a place to spawn. It hasn't really been designed with expansion in mind, and it has no cargo decks, it has no medical areas, it has none of all those things that we have become accustomed to from more modern station designs. So as much as I hate to see Port Olisar be removed, I can kind of see where CIG is coming from, that it was probably about time that it at least got an update. And they do talk about it like if they wanted to just build a new Port Olisar, but you can't replace Port Olisar. You can't just make a new station and call it Port Olisar, which they also do acknowledge. We may see Port Olisar again in the future, but I'm going to talk more about that later. Now, the new station that's going to be replacing Port Olisar in update 3.20 is called SUIPPORT Station. Now, this station is massive. I believe it's actually going to be one of the biggest stations that we have seen in the game. It's supposed to be 4 to 5 times bigger than Port Olisar. But what I like is that from the design of it, they kept this like long center, like backbone with big habitation rings spinning around. They kept this design. It kind of still feels a little home when you're there. It kind of just feels like a bigger brother. The station itself, apart from its large size, is going to be very similar to all the other stations that we are currently very accustomed to from the other Lagrange points and in orbit around planets. It's going to have medical facilities. It's going to have a cargo deck. There's going to be what sounds like at least very good shopping opportunities. So they kept that trade hub feel, where you can go and you can get almost anything that you had with Port Olisar. They kept that with what it sounds like it's going to be pretty good shopping opportunity. We will have to wait and see until it's actually added into the game. At the end of the day, it is just going to be just another station that's going to be very similar in feel and design to the stations that we have all over Stanton already. But this is not the full story with Port Olisar. For those of you who've been there in later years, you will know that Port Olisar has become a bit of a hotspot for PvPers. Likely due to its close proximity to Grim Hex, it was a good place for PvPers to go and hunt for targets for people. Again, as I said, many people really like Port Olisar and like to call it their home, and it wasn't too long of a flight, so they could take their often shorter range combat ships there without too much hassle. So this has made Port Olisar a bit of a PvP hotspot. CIG knows this, and they are trying to keep it so and keep it like that in 3.20 when that comes out. Bounty gameplay is going to change in Star Citizen. Right now, if you kill a player with a bounty, you get paid. In the future, you're going to have to go collect the body, put them into some kind of stasis chamber, and fly that back to a security port where you can then hand it in for your bounty. I like that we talked about this in a previous video, but this means that bounty gameplay is not just the go and kill people, but all of a sudden there's also a transport them back to actually claim your bounty, at which point all of a sudden you become the target because now you're carrying something valuable in your cargo hold that other PvPers might want to go and try to take from you. In order to facilitate this gameplay, they are adding security ports to Port Olisar, allowing you to go and hand in bodies in this area. So that means now we both have this Grim Hex criminal hotspot right next door at the rings, in the rings around Yella, and we have the security ports for bounty hunters again right next door on this new Surfim Station. So I could see some potential for some great PvP action between pirates, outlaws at Grimhex, and the more lawful bounty hunters, or well, let's call them in the gray area bounty hunters at Surfim Station. So if you are a fan of PvP in this area, I think it's still going to be something you're going to be seeing a lot of. I said that we haven't seen the end of Port Olisar. While they did end their Inside Star Citizen with this dramatic video of Port Olisar crashing down through the atmosphere of Crusader, burning up in the process, they did mention that they want to talk about later what is going to happen with Port Olisar. My personal guess, and this is pure guesswork, my personal guess is that it would work very well in a system like Pyro. We know that Pyro is going to be a much bigger system, but also a much less developed system. There's going to be a lot more of like small outlaw factions here and there. It's going to feel a lot more like a frontier system than like a core habited system. And in a system like that, I feel like a small station like Port Olisar would work quite well. So my hopes are that when we finally do see Pyro being added with update 4.0, that we are also going to see the reintroduction of Port Olisar back into the game as a station in Pyro. Now, while all this has caused a bit of stir in the community, I just want to mention that this is not the first time CIG has done this. They've done this before, and we can probably expect them to do it again. Some of you might remember Levski, another landing zone that were in the game at some point that's since been removed. This planet was never actually intended to be in Stanton, but it was there because they needed to test some of the biomes on it. I don't know what they were using it for, but they were testing some things with it. And once they were done with that testing, they then removed it from the game, as that planet was actually not supposed to be in Stanton at all. So comment section below, what is your fondest memory of Port Olisar? Or if you haven't really any memories from Port Olisar, what's your favorite station or landing zone in Star Citizen? Post it in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.